So, imagine sitting on a beach watching your teen trying to catch the right wave. It's like um a snapshot of independence in action.
Absolutely.
That's really the crux of this whole idea of fostering independence in younger teens, don't you think?
Definitely. The analogy is so vivid, you know? Like watching a teen surfs, they have their board, assess the waves, and decide when to take the chance. It really mirrors the process of letting them make decisions in life.
Right. And what's interesting is that um the whole concept isn't about letting them be completely on their own all at once. It's about, you know, gradual steps, baby steps, if you will. Imagine if your teen isn't yet comfortable walking around alone, you wouldn't suddenly drop them off in a busy
Yeah,
downtown, right?
exactly.
It's about building that confidence one small step at a time.
Yeah. And speaking of baby steps, it reminds me of the idea of practicing together first, like mapping out a bus route with them before letting them take it on their own. I mean, there's a real art in knowing when to hold on and when to let go.
Exactly. And that ties in with setting clear boundaries and expectations. It's like telling them you can go to this place, but you've got to be home by this time. It helps create a safe framework for them to explore independently while knowing what's expected.
Right. And then there's the whole idea of consequences if those boundaries aren't respected. It sounds strict, but it's more about providing a learning framework, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like if they miss the time or if they don't check in like we agreed, then the trust is broken and you have to enforce a consequence. It's not about punishment for its own sake, but about teaching responsibility and reliability.
You know, some parents might find that harsh, but I think it's all about consistency. Without consistent consequences, it becomes difficult for teens to understand the importance of those rules.
Right. And with all these steps, there's also the interesting role of technology. Tracking apps, for example, can be a double edged sword. They're super
Uh
useful
huh,
for
yeah.
staying connected, although they're not foolproof.
Yes, I do have a bit of a pushback on that, though. Isn't there a risk that relying too much on tracking apps might undermine the trust you're trying to build? It sometimes feels like we might be micromanaging under the guise of safety.
That's a great point. I mean, trust is supposed to come first, but acknowledging that these apps are a tool when needed is also important. They should really be a backup rather than the main lifeline. It's
Right,
about
exactly.
balancing independence with just enough oversight.
And then there's the part about being open and honest, like keeping communication channels wide open. Teens usually appreciate it, even if they sometimes push back or act out. It's all about that dialogue.
Yes, isn't it almost like giving them a mini training ground for real life situations? You're supporting them by discussing expectations and even the natural rebellious moments they'll face. It's part of understanding that teen life with its ups and downs.
Yeah. Speaking of teen life, what about the whole debate on privacy? I mean, especially when it comes to monitoring their phones. That can be really tricky territory.
Exactly, and it's one of the more controversial aspects. The idea is to strike a balance between ensuring their safety and respecting their need for privacy. It might sound like a paradox, but it's all about discussing these boundaries openly.
Yeah, and that dialogue is key. Some experts suggest that delaying exposure to social media is beneficial for their mental health. So then you have to decide whether, should we check their phone or not?
Right, and instead of secretive monitoring, it's suggested to communicate clearly about what is acceptable on their devices. It's like saying, this is the phone I'm letting you have, and with that, there are these rules. It's a collective agreement rather than a sneaky check.
Definitely, and I also find that developing a sense of responsibility plays a huge role here. When teens are given responsibilities around the house, like cleaning up their own space, taking care of pets, or doing their own laundry, it prepares them for bigger challenges later on.
Absolutely, it's like training wheels for adulthood. You model the tasks first, work with them, and then expect them to handle it on their own shortly after. And this gradual buildup is essential even for neurodivergent teens, where you might need a little extra structure like checklists or rewards for a job well done.
Exactly, yeah. That makes sense. And then another crucial point is really instilling confidence in them. It's not just about doing tasks independently, it's about believing that they can, face challenges and come out stronger.
Yeah, like giving them a pat on the back when they succeed, even if it's a small win. It's crucial that they experience that pride of accomplishment firsthand. If they struggle, and let's be real, they will, that struggle is where the most
Exactly.
learning happens.
And that's where the beach analogy comes in again. We as parents cheer from the sidelines when they're out there absolutely riding their wave on their own, even though it might mean watching a few wipeouts along the way.
Exactly. It's tough, but it's like saying, I'm here if you fall, but you've got to find your balance first. And over time, these little victories add up to strong, resilient independence.
Yeah, it really resonates with me. I sometimes wonder if there's a risk of letting them fail too much. Is too much independence too soon a bad thing?
That's a valid concern. It's definitely a balancing act. It's important not to thrust them into situations way beyond their current abilities. That's why the whole idea is um, baby steps. You gradually escalate challenges rather than throwing them into the deep end without any support.
Yes, absolutely. So it's really about timing and knowing your teen's readiness. I like that the process is dynamic, adjusting boundaries, expectations, and even, consequences as they mature.
Exactly. And all of this involves a lot of trust. Both the teens trust in you and vice versa. And that trust is built daily through consistent actions, clear communication, and yes, allowing them space to actually learn from the experience.
Indeed. It sounds like the author really sees parenting as a delicate dance between stepping in and stepping back, with moments of pride intermingled with moments of anxiety.
Absolutely. It's like sometimes you're both the coach and the cheerleader. You gently guide them, but also resist the urge to fix everything. Because honestly, if you always step in, they never get to learn that rush of riding the wave on their own.
Correct, yeah. And then there's the notion of social and peer pressures at that age, the challenges of friendship dynamics, social media pressures, and trying to fit in, all of which add layers to the independence curve.
Right. And that's where open discussions become crucial. Talking about how to handle conflicts with friends or approaching a teacher for issues instead of immediately escalating it to you. It's about empowering them to solve their own problems sometimes.
Exactly. It's interesting because fostering independence isn't just a checklist of tasks, it's a mindset shift for both parent and teen. The parent has to willingly let go a little, and the teen has to accept that responsibility.
Spot on. And the whole watching from the beach metaphor really encapsulates that beautifully. As parents, we can only be so involved without stifling their growth. Sometimes the best thing we can do is step back and let them make their own choices, even if it means watching some wipeouts.
Yeah. That moment of pride when they finally ride that perfect wave, though, it's indescribable. It shows that all the small steps, the boundaries, the consequences, the honest talks, really do add up to something big.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes this approach so holistic. It's not just about managing behavior, it's about nurturing a resilient, confident individual who can navigate life independently, even when the waves get a little rough.
Right, exactly. And while we might disagree on the specifics sometimes, like how and when to use tracking apps or enforce strict consequences, it all ties back to the same central theme: gradual empowerment through trust and practical steps.
For sure. It's a continuous dialogue. Parents and teens are learning from each other, and in that sense, we're all just trying to ride the unpredictable waves of life together.
Very true. I love how this whole idea not only champions teen independence, but also reminds us as parents to be ever present supporters, even when we're not in the thick of the action ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. So, the next time you see your teen taking on a new challenge on their own, whether it's literally on a board or figuratively in life, remember, it's those small, patient steps that count.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a nice note to end on. It really celebrates both the struggles and the triumphs of growing up. Thanks for diving into this with me. It's been such a thoughtful reflection on fostering independence.
Thank you too. It's been really insightful discussing how a simple beach scene can reflect larger parenting principles. Let's keep riding those waves together.